It's Friday afternoon.
It's Saturday afternoon.
Oh, sugar.
Sugar. She's really British.
Oh, God. It's
Going back
Saturday
in time.
Oh my God. Wow. And welcome to this Facebook Live from CWA Conscious World Agents. And we have, of course, our special guest, and there will be a special guest joining us later. And we're always saying to people, slow down. Slow down. And that's what we need to do right now.
we just landed and I'm absolutely so chilled. It's like all is perfect. So it's wonderful to be here. And no, it's not Friday afternoon. It's Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
And it's 4 o'clock in the Netherlands and it's 3 o'clock in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
So it's wonderful. We've just arrived back from a few days away.
Yeah.
So
It was really amazing.
and we really slowed down. So
Being in nature, balancing all the 4 elements. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And now we have a special guest here.
Mm-hmm.
A special guest, Ratna Morjaria. And welcome to this wonderful live session. Ratna, we know each other a little bit longer.
We certainly do. Well, first of all, thank you both for the opportunity.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to the discussion that
Yeah.
we're going to have. So
Wow.
I think everyone will enjoy it.
Yeah, cool. Well, for us the same. It started, I think, about what was it? Do you have your sound there?
I'm just trying to figure it out. Yes, go ahead and I'll just put on the.
I think it was in 2017 or 18. I'm not sure anymore. We were with the whole group of 𝐷𝙗𝙗, with all the managers and the CEOs, and all these people were there.
Yes.
And there was one day that me and a lot of other people, I was training at that time for Intense. We could train you in safety behavior.
That's right, Arjo.
Yeah.
It seems like a long time ago.
Yeah. Well, and your job description at that moment was
Culture director.
culture director. Well, you're still in
Culture
culture development.
I certainly am.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, so it's culture director with a view to really thinking about the people. You know, how do we get people, and why do people behave the way they do? And, you know, what are all the good intentions of people?
Yeah.
And just about influencing and inspiring. That's the whole purpose of it.
Well, and we had a wonderful day. I had the group of the CEO and all the CFO and all these guys. And you were sitting there next to me a little bit, and you were looking, and you were thinking probably, oh, wow, he's asking right questions and he's challenging them. So we had a wonderful time there. But what was immediately, do you hear also the echo?
We have an echo, so I don't know.
Can we hear it echo? I don't have an echo.
Is yours on silence?
Yeah, it's
totally?
on silent. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I immediately saw is how you really were focusing on the people instead of the regulations, the organization. And of course, that's important. But your focus was, okay, if we want to change something, it starts with the people and not with new regulations and new organization. And from that moment on, we were in touch and we kept connection with this. And it went on. And now your culture development and investment helped me a little bit from EHSQ. Is that correct? From environment, health, safety
and quality. Yes.
Can you tell a little bit more, at least, about that part of your life when you are working, because you have a second part of that life, but first it's the hard part.
Yeah, I love that. I love the way you say part of your life,
Yeah.
not my position, because
Yeah.
that's a really important point. It's part of my life, and I'm honored and I'm blessed to have had a blank canvas about changing culture in the company and any organization that I touch as well. So I think the whole part of it is to drive people and plant seeds, basically, you know, having a ripple effect on people, because we can't change culture. We can't change anything instantly. And I think even whether we're in our organizations or whether we're in outside of work and just being, this part where we recognize that all we can do is plant a seed and it will have a ripple effect. And that's a lot of what I do in my company as well. And, you know, through Limitless Change as well, to say we shouldn't expect instant gratification. We can just put the seed out there to people. And when we do it with compassion and love, and for me, from a leadership point of view, that's really important also, how to be you as well. Because when we take away our titles and our bodies and our minds, when people can really feel who we are, that energy is phenomenal. And even if they think, oh, I really don't want to go there, because they can feel your passion. And I think, Arturo, you always say everything is energy.
Everything is energy. Yeah.
everything is energy. And when we're trying to influence people, I truly believe everything is energy. And I've been involved in a lot of projects globally. And when you think about all the different cultures, the different languages, the different modes of behavior that people have because of where they come from, and even in their families as well, there's one thing that doesn't have a boundary, and that is how hearts speak to each other. And I truly believe that even in the leadership roles that I do as well. And that's really my driver, to influence people and spark the passion and energy of what they think they can bring, because we collectively bring things together to everybody.
Great. Wow. Yes, and I think it's so important if you really show this and teach people and learn people how to do it in corporations.
Yeah.
Because there's still, well, let's say, a more masculine energy with taking decisions, having a direction, and that's great. Don't get me wrong, we need with a company a direction. But if it's only about talking about goals and all these kind of things, then we miss one thing, and that's the connection with the people. Absolutely.
And I think that that's an important part where organizations, whether it's in your workplace, if it's, we talk about Go Dharmic a little bit later, but even in those, people have systems and process, but the heart of anything that we want to change has to be with the people as well. And sometimes, you know, people are just, I think everyone wants to do good change in the world, whether it's the world, whether it's in their family, whether it's in whoever they meet and touch. But sometimes, depending on what people have had as influences, they don't know how to speak up. No. They say, oh, if I put myself out there, what's everybody going to think of me as well? And I believe by giving the platform to people to say, well, you know what, you might not make a big change. You might just make a small change, but every small change is the collective as well. So I truly believe everybody has a stage to be able to be part of the change that we want to see as well. And in a lot of my role and what I do with Limitless Change as well is just inspire people to have the courage to have a voice, to speak up. And even if they don't speak up and they don't have the courage, at least I know I've planted a thought in someone's mind. And it's their responsibility, their wish when they want to take that on board. And I know Arturo and Claudia have done a lot of work with you, and we talk about words. the impeccable word. And I really learned a lot in the last few months that how we plant a word, and planting a seed is planting a word with somebody. And it's just, when does that ripen in somebody's heart and mind? So it's all about hearts and minds at the end of the day. And that's how we can, even in a process, in an area where there's systems, there's structures, there's regulations, but everyone goes to work, goes to do something with the right intentions. But the culture part of it is, how do we create that safe space, that organizational safety, the safety of knowing when I speak up, it's okay. I'm not going to be judged. I'm not going to be blamed, and I can make a difference as well.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Very nice. I love that. And like you say, everybody has the right intention. Everybody wants to do it as good as possible. And it's finding the language that we start to sing from that same hymn sheet, so to speak, from that heart language, to say, okay, well, I know that you want to do the things as best as possible. Perhaps I see it from this way, being maybe also from a different culture, but how can we meet? How can we meet from the heart? And I really love that you're really, that's how you're planting the seeds as well with the people. So, yeah.
I mean, I've had the privilege of traveling a lot in the roles that I've had as well. And, many times what I've done is really spent time with people as well. And when we spend the time with people as individuals and not in our roles, even doing things at the weekend when I've traveled around the place as well, then there's the next layer, right? Trust. When people trust, and then when you speak to people out of the formal area, you start learning, actually, we're all alike. And even our upbringings, I was born in India, but then I grew up in England. But then when I speak to my friends, I will call them my friends, they're not just my colleagues, in places like China or India or South America or anywhere, when you really learn the daily lives of how people operate, we are so much more alike than we think we are. And we put so many boundaries in there. Well, I come from this country, and I come from this organization, and I come from this. And that's why I truly believe it is about people. So how do we give everyone the skill to talk people to people, not from country to country or organization to organization as well? And that takes a little bit of vulnerability, I think, as well.
Yes, it is a little bit courage sometimes. And well, later on we will have Hanumans Dass also from Go Dharmic, who will join this conversation, and a lot of also from Go Dharmic, but also from your own company, Limitless Change. It's about how may I serve instead what's in it for me. And when you, for a short time, let's go back to leadership. For me, and I just want to see if you can elaborate on this one. If you as a leader also start by, okay, how may I serve to my people? What can I do to make them grow? What can I do to make them, let them flourish? And how would that change a culture within a company like you working? Well, how do you think?
Oh, I love that, because that's exactly how I do my leadership roles. I've been in leadership I've worked for 27 years in my company, but over the last 20 years, I've always led people. And the one fundamental thing that I have is I want to serve people to be the best version of themselves. And that means engaging in conversation. What is it that you want?
Yeah.
And being of service, even in a leadership role, is genuinely asking people, what is it that you want? What are your dreams? What's your vision? Where would you like to go? And then what I believe is actually challenging them in a way where, their box might be only this small. And then go, well, actually, have you ever thought about this? And do you want to do my job for a day, for example? you know, do you want to come along to the big meetings that I go along to as well? And them having almost an equal role, but then me being in the back, them taking the lead in leading a meeting, but myself being in the back, knowing that I've got their back when they're doing that. And it's a safe place where you can hand over to people. And when you create that kind of servant leadership, gosh, you're just influencing other people to then ripple the effect of being a servant leader as well. And I totally believe that is exactly what we need, whichever organization we're in as well. Because when they learn to serve and give, they give their best version of themselves, of what their, not their vision and mission, I would say what their values are. For me, it's about values.
Yeah.
You know, what are my values as a person? Because as a person, we're all leading anyway. Yeah. So it's not just about the title anymore. It's about what values do I have? And is there any commonality between the values of the people that I'm engaging with as well? And I always encourage when I'm mentoring people as well, remember we all have values, and it's okay for us to talk about our personal values as well, because before we became the entity of an organization and with their values, we've actually got our own values as well. And our organizations, whichever organization we go to, they benefit and profit from our personal values. That's how organizations thrive from a people point of view.
Wonderful. Yeah. Ratna, okay, would you mind explaining a little bit the benefits then from, like when you say about when you your intentions come from your inner values, you know, and when we check in on our inner values, and as a leader, how that benefits then the company that one works for as a whole? What would be the benefits for a company as such?
Benefits is loyalty. You know, people really giving their best to actually be the drivers of change as well. Because when everyone plays their part, and everyone has to play their part when we're trying to change culture as well, to make a change and challenging the status quo, companies thrive on people wanting to challenge the status quo. It's just not always so articulately put out there to people that that's what we want people to do as well. But the benefits are loyalty, innovation, the fact that we can do things differently than we've always done it, because a lot of the time we're so stuck in, we do things the way we've always done them, and that works. But guess what? It could actually work even better, and it has to work better for the future generations as well, because they don't want to do things the way we've always done it. But I'm very privileged to work with a lot of the younger generation where they're actually teaching me. So the benefit is also the dual learning from a leader to the people who are learning in the process. And it's constantly expanding your awareness, your conscious awareness, your leadership awareness of what is actually possible, because it's also always about continual improvement as well. And you know, we go in lots of audits, and when people say, you know, I think, you know, the youngsters nowadays, or even if I was going to go to another company, I would want to know, how do the people actually feel about working for this organization?
Yeah.
That has a lot of value. I think even more so now than it probably did 20 years ago. People are really looking for values of, how do the people feel? What are the true values? It's easier to ask people now how they feel about their company. You just look at social media. People are posting on LinkedIn, they're posting on Facebook, things they've done by their company. So it's in the interest now, even more so, for organizations to show they get the benefits out of what their people say about them as well. And that's why we have to work on culture, and that's why leadership, I believe, is even more prominent in that as well, because with the positivity comes the negativity if leadership doesn't perform, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Yeah. Did you want to
Yeah,
ask a
yeah.
question,
I
Laura?
think I love what you say about what are the benefits, and there's much more. And I would like to add at least ownership and taking responsibility. If people feel they're being heard, they are valued something in their life, and then they know what to do, and they feel the backup from their leader. People take ownership.
You mean that people feel valued? Or?
They feel valued.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
No, I thought you meant they brought a value.
No, they feel themselves they're valuable for the company, for the team.
Yeah.
Then they want to take ownership and responsibility, and that's so important for the whole company and to change the culture.
Yeah, and I'd like to just add, Arturo, to what you're saying there. You know, people feeling valued is so important. I think even more during the times we've had over the last 2 years, because it's about the well-being of people as well. The number of hours that we spend in our organizations, when you feel valued, you naturally start to look after yourself better, because that energy exchange of giving someone value, it's just so infectious to how they start thinking about themselves, their inner selves as well. Because, you know, we all want recognition. We all want to feel, oh, I feel value. And that value of someone saying, hey, Arturo, you know, are you feeling good today? I'm just, you know, you've come into work. Are you feeling a bit like this? Are you feeling a bit like that? And consciously, people then start thinking, oh, you know what, Arturo actually noticed today. Hey, absolutely cares about me. And then that's the next exchange of, well, what can I do to help you if there's something going on? Because there's always things going on for all of us as well. But well-being is such a big topic, I think. And that's another benefit of having the right culture in place as well, because we don't want people burning out. We don't want our people going home, because when our people burn out, it impacts their families. And guess what? That's actually a bigger equation here than what happens to them at work. Because if our employees get burnt out, if our people get burnt out, yes, we look after them. But when we look to the wider world and wider community and wider society, when they go home, it's their people, it's their families, it's their friends who have to look out for them as well. So we can at least play our part to be compassionate and kind and listen to what's going on with people as well. And at that point, people can say, actually, you know what, sometimes the work is really crazy. I don't know why the leadership make these decisions, but I know if I speak up, or I will be able to say something to somebody. But in the long run, we will get over this phase. But ultimately, I know when I have a problem, I can see someone's going to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And that benefit of people knowing that they're cared about is the human driver. And that's the human part to all of this, right?
Yeah, for sure. So is that also in Limitless Change what your, what your mission is, or your vision is to empower people?
Yeah, absolutely. But in Limitless Change, we started off, there's my partner, 𝙗 as well. And we've done a lot in project management. And one of the things we wanted to do on Limitless Change is talk about our experiences, but not about how to deliver project management. What are all the different things that you go through, whether it's, the imposter syndrome, how do we check in on ourselves on a daily basis to stay balanced for other people, to bring out good energy with them as well? And how do we make change for good? So through our experiences and through the challenges that we've both had in the organizations, in our work, how can we share that to say to people, you're not the only one? Yeah. And how do we keep ourselves, how do we keep our health in a good place? How do we keep our well-being in a good place? And how do we demonstrate our leadership, and what does leadership actually mean to both of us as well?
So is that also, yeah, go ahead, please.
No, and that's really about limitless, exploring with other people and engaging people to speak up. Some of the posts that we've had as well, yourselves, we've had other people come on board, and a lot of my friends, even from university, have come on board. And it's to promote each other, what we all do together to raise conscious awareness of people. And I think that's also one responsibility, but people can choose. They can honestly choose, do they want to speak to somebody from Limitless Change? Do they want to speak to conscious world agents? Do they want to speak to individuals that come on board? Because I think it's good that people know there's a network of people, like-minded people, where they can go to voice on social media, or just say, hey, you know, Ratna, I'd like to have a chat with you. I'm really interested in how did you actually manage that project? How have you been able to do a global role and bring everybody together? Because that's not easy, to be fair. And that's really the platform to spark the passion in others by showing how we have been passionate to do what we're doing every day as well. And then inviting all of you to take part with us on the journey, because we're not the only ones, right? There's so many amazing people out there. And we have to get into a society where we talk about the positive things that happen. And that's not easy. That's not normal in every culture. But also talk about our vulnerabilities, because, you know, doing the role that I've done for so many years, it has its ups and downs as well. And I think it's good to share those ups and downs with people. But how did we pick ourselves up? What practices do I put in place? What practices does Louis put in place to keep himself in that place as well? Because some days is pretty hard.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of
life happens, right?
And I think a lot of people can relate to that right now, you know, with all what has been happening business-wise, and a lot of people who are, you know, working for themselves and used to, maybe like ourselves as well, traveling abroad a lot, and then did less of that because of the current situation everyone's in. And we had to put ourselves out of the comfort box many times, I think. So a lot of people will be able to relate to that. I think another aspect with it, and I think you'd agree on that as well, is that authenticity, like you said, you know, being vulnerable, being honest, and saying, well, you know, and seeing the commonness that you're explaining, that we see in each other's differences, not focusing on the differences, but focusing on the commonness, and being authentic and vulnerable and compassionate. I think that is that next step of conscious leadership that you're, so much wanting to connect everyone with, who's coming from that.
I can tell you, Claudia, on my journey, as I've tried to live and practice being a conscious leader all the time. And it's not just about giving outside. What I would add, it's also giving to yourself. Absolutely. To really, really understand what your purpose is. And through my journey, I also start questioning myself. What is it that I want to do as well? And what really is my purpose here? You know, because when you take the opportunity by serving other people, you inspire other people, you mentor other people, but they do that back to you. And what starts happening is it starts sparking passion in yourself to question, what is it that I want to do to serve on a different purpose as well? And I guess that's where I am, and that's probably why that's exactly why we're going to be speaking with Hemel in a short while about, as you go through that journey of leadership, and it really is about service to others. That service is a mirror that reflects back on you to say, okay, what can I do more to serve my inner self as well? And it really questions, wow, if I can do this here, where else can I be of service to as well? And that's really how I came across also with Go Dharmic as well, because I'm questioning myself all the time as I become more clearer, and the mirrors just keep coming at you, whether it's, you know, with the things that I've done with you guys, even with the people I meet at work as well. what is my purpose? Is there a different purpose, and how can I use that purpose elsewhere as well?
Yeah, and there is the answer.
There are.
Exactly.
Hello.
Hello.
There is our savior.
How are you all?
We're doing really well.
Good,
Glad
thank
you're
you.
here.
Yeah.
And-
Great timing.
Perfect timing, Hanuman.
Hannah, could
Nice
you?
to
We
see
were
you.
just
Oh, sorry, I wonder if Ratna could repeat her last question that she was asking.
Yeah, I was just saying, I question myself. You were talking, we were just talking about leadership, Hanuman, and servant leadership. And what I said was, during the time that I've been leading teams and leading people, every time you're leading someone, there's a mirror back at you all the time as well, thinking, okay, what is my purpose? And you actually, when you give, do the giving to others, they're also giving back to you to question yourself to what is it that I want to do? What's my bigger purpose here? If I can do this here, what else can I do to be of service somewhere else? And I think it constantly taps into, is this what I'm really meant to be doing as well?
Mm.
And so service is, we give service out as leaders, but it's also service to our inner soul of what we want to do as well. And you don't see that when you're in systems of education and organizations, but beautifully, the mirrors start helping you question where you really want to serve in the future. And I was just saying, Hanuman, that's how I came closer and closer to having a connection with Go Dharmic as well.
And there you were.
Exactly at that point.
Then Hanuman entered the room, and here he is, the founder of Go Dharmic as well. So it's so wonderful to have you both here. Thank you in your busy lives, both of you, to be our guest speakers this month. We are truly honored and really humbled for you both to be here.
It's a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
And we just spoke about, Ratna spoke about her own private journey and her job, and also how she came about with Limitless Change and how she is inspiring and empowering people that way in conscious leadership, and how we are all doing that in our own unique ways in this group. And we would love to hear more, of course, for our viewers who are watching and who will be also watching later. What is it what has been your attraction to do something like Go Dharmic? What made you initiate this as a founder? And we were talking today about selfless service and how that actually opens the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And why we also connected with Go Dharmic as such, and with Ratna with Limitless Change, how we feel that by being of service in whatever way we can help people to raise the consciousness and give them tools to create happiness in their hearts, and they'll be also helping others and inspire others. That's what we do, and you do all the wonderful things you do. And we would love to hear, what is it that made you start the Go Dharmic as such, please?
Well, firstly, I would say, what you're all doing is incredible. You're opening hearts, and when I hear conscious leadership, for me, it's heart opening. Just allowing people to expand the idea of who they are, to serve, not just to lead for leadership's sake, but for serving for the sake of service. And that is incredible. And for me, I just feel we weren't taught this at school. This is not something that the education system, they want to make good engineers, or they want to make industrialists, or business structure, not to open hearts, not to make people enjoy the essence of life together, to be present more. And I feel that the purpose is not balanced. We don't capture that essence of life through the current education system.
Yeah.
It's just a conveyor belt to nowhere that we keep sending people on, and we need to stop and actually take stock that, you know, the previous 2 generations we've done more damage than human history. And we're accelerating that every day, and I feel that our role is really to try and expand our existing setup to be heart opening. You know, there's that beautiful quote of the Dalai Lama where he says, "The world does not need more successful people. We need more poets, peacemakers, and lovers of all kinds." That for me is really, you know, the essence of our work. And whether we call it Martin Luther King's beloved community, or Vinoba Bhave, who was the first Gandhian to lead the Mahatma Gandhi's Satyagraha movement, he called it the Shanti Sena, which means the peace army. Perhaps we all, you know, in a borderless way, create the peace army. And whether that's, you know, there in the Netherlands where you are, or here in London where we are, or in India or Africa or anywhere else, our work is the same. And whether it's the dark age, which in Hinduism we call Kali Yuga, the dark times where things are very traumatic and difficult and suffering, and, you know, that our work is love and compassion. And whether it's the Satya Yuga, the heavenly age, where everything is very good and, you know, blissful and heavenly, our work is also love and compassion. So regardless of the changing times or conditions on earth, whether COVID pandemic or just a regular sunny day and time to serve, we can love all, feed all, serve all. And for me, that's really the essence of whether we can stay present enough and close enough and regular enough to keep doing it, and more of it. And then, you know, we build a family, don't we? Like we just keep expanding that, keep reaching out to more people, and not through any particular vision, or not through any particular planning, other than, you know, just letting the universe unfold in a more orderly way. That's Dharma for me.
Yeah, it's just beautiful. And I really love how you come back on that. This is what Dharma is, because I hope you're still there. I just read also a quote from Sadhguru, and he said Dharma it's not about religious teachings. It's about what do you practice, what do you do, you know, how do you engage with life, and so forth. And I feel that's basically what you're doing, right? You just.
Well, I think Sanatana Dharma means the eternal purpose, eternal way, eternal path for you, or universal for all. It's more than gravity. So it's not something that we choose to be a part of as a community. Sanatana Dharma is the air around me and you. It's what holds us together. It's what holds the universe together. In the Gita, Krishna says that God is like the invisible thread which holds a necklace together, a pearl necklace together, and without that thread being there, although we can't see it, if you take it out, everything is just meaningless and disappears. So the Dharma is that which holds us all together, and that divine energy that holds this whole universe and nature and all living beings as one family. And adharma is the movement away from that, to cut down our forests, to mass slaughter animals, to cause violence to each other, and keep people in poverty. This is all would be considered to be damage to the environment, adharma. And our Go Dharmic is a call in the opposite direction. How can we bring values of peace and love and kindness, and many of the values which you teach in your courses like that would be dharmic principles. And I think we should touch on the fact that we're building conversation around helping people to understand what going dharmic actually is. And I think conscious leadership can play a big role in helping us to unfold that for people of the future around the world who come and volunteer with Go Dharmic to understand these principles and and take them away for themselves.
Yes.
Right. I think Ratna and I were discussing just a few days ago that in Gujarati there's two interesting words. One is marji and one is farji. And marji means that which you do of your own free will, that you want to do, that you desire to do. And farji is something that's maybe forced or, kind of by law, or you do because you're obliged to do that. You must do that. Or, and the thing that we do of our own choice is so much more beautiful, isn't it? Like no matter how much our parents tell us to do something we may be good for us, we don't want to do it. And when we're free to choose that item, so this is not a commandment. Sanatana Dharma is no dogma. This is the principles: do which you wish to do. Gita says this. It's yata jasi tata kuru. Now study the wisdom, study the principles, study the ideas, consider them carefully, and do what you want to do. Act of your own desire. So I think we're lucky we can pick and choose what resonates with us. Like, what do you think about that? How does that resonate with you?
Well, with me, it definitely resonates, and especially when you relate it to divine energy. And when you do something for another person unconditional from the heart, that's the energy, that's the divine energy that you send out. And that's also the divine energy that's in what you give to the other person. If you do it because there's an obligation, you don't want it, but there is something you must do it, otherwise you will be punished, for instance, then there's a totally different energy in this. And that's also, then you give it, but it's conditional. It's also has something heavy in it. The density is much more there. And it brings you down. It makes you heavier. Instead of really coming from the heart that enlightens you, it's also a lighter energy. It's denser. It's less dense. And it's really light. And that enlightens you, it enlightens the other person, it enlightens the environment. So I really, really love this.
Yeah, and as you described that, I really think of, Thich Nhat Hanh, who recently left us, the beautiful Buddhist saint who was living in France and then back to Vietnam, Thailand as well. And, just the lightness of Thich Nhat Hanh and the gentleness that he brought to the world, which was just something we just don't see, do we, in the West? We just don't, see such sweetness. And he just transformed millions of people. I think what he's come and done in his life has saved millions of lives, through mindfulness, through teaching of meditation and gentleness, and just being. When I see a picture of Thich Nhat Hanh and I just see his face and smile, and it's just divine lightness. It's just, you want to be in that presence, don't you? And so, I got his picture and placed it in my temple at home, and just lovely to see and have his darshan on a regular basis. It makes me feel very divine energy that resonated, regardless of belief. This is not even about belief. It's just it is.
Yeah, so true. I just love that as well. And we watched another video from him last week as well, when he was saying, like, the cloud is in everything. You can see the cloud in everything, like in the bit of paper he held, and his whole story of how he tells the story of how everything is interconnected is just so beautiful, and how we are all interconnected as well. So and that reminds me also of a quote of a friend of mine, Phil Lane Jr. He's an indigenous elder from the Americans, and he says that the hurt of one is the hurting of all, and the healing of one is the healing of all. And I think that is so true as well, and I feel that very much with what you're doing as well in your work. If we see the world that we still have hungry children or hungry elders, we don't have that in our world anymore, and that is such a fundamental need for humans, to be fed and to have that in our lives as a basic human needs being met is this. There's no need for not to have that anymore, but we need to put it in action, and you're definitely doing that. And
I think, sharing food with people is a great yoga. The yoga. And Maharaji Neem Karoli Baba, he showed us that yoga of sharing food, feeding people, the yoga of feeding people. Thousands of people, he said that nobody should come to the ashram and leave without being fed. Now, this is a place where you would consider austere religious worship, meditation, or, prayer, devotion. And he's talking about food. Come and feed these people. Give them a cup of chai. Give them a tea and make them feel. And that grandfatherliness or that love is the essence of it all. Like, the feeling one gets from people who have been with Maharaji is that there's a beautiful book by Parvati Marcus called Love Everyone. And it's the diary entries of people who were sitting with Neem Karoli Baba, or who are the Westerners whose life is transformed. And one of the narratives in there is that when you're with Maharaji or being like Maharaji, his job is already to love everyone. That's what saints do, right? Like any saint of the world, anywhere, that they love everyone. But in Maharaji's presence, we also started to love everyone.
Yeah.
And I just thought that's so remarkable, isn't it? Like the sun is shining on all of us, but now we also get warm and warm other people as well from that warmth. And that transformative, like warming of others, that not only in Maharaji's presence did he love us, but we also started to love everyone as well.
Yeah.
And that for me is, that's the whole game. The whole game is just love and compassion.
And I think that that's such a valid point, and such a point that a lot of people forget. If I just shine, or let's say if I'm in a group and there's one person who's really shining from love, I feel it. I feel it right away. It really, it enlightens my candle inside, and I feel it right away. I want to, maybe help or do something, but it really makes me so much lighter. And just imagine if you do it also, and just in one group of 3 or 4 persons, what this will be, what kind of ripple effect this is. It's enormous.
Yeah, and I want to add to that. Basically, Ratna, you volunteered a few weeks ago with the Go Dharmic group in Southampton, was it?
Northampton.
And you spoke to me about it, what it did with you, and I think that's the topic of today as well, this selfless giving and how it opens the heart. And I think so many people are away from that connection from the mind to the heart. And just by you doing that service that you did, you went to the people on the streets and you gave them some food, what it did to you and the connection you had with the people. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please, Ratna? Because I thought it was so inspiring as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was really inspiring for me. And I just wanted to say one thing, like, what Hanumans Dass said about the Sanatana Dharma. And one of the things there, obviously being Hindu, but I was brought up to believe in everything. So I was very fortunate in the way I was brought up. I went to Sunday school, etc. But the Sanatana Dharma is also about, it's a way of living. And I think that's really fundamental, a way of living, to give. And no one ever comes into a Sanatana Dharma's house without having not fed anyone. Why? Because we are all, Arturo, you said we're all interconnected. We're all part of whatever you want to say. It's the universe or God or whatever. So why would you let somebody else leave your place and not give them even a cup of chai, like Hanumans Dass said as well?
Yeah.
So even when I went to Northampton, that's one of the smaller teams. And it was honestly such a pleasure to be with the 3 gentlemen that I was with on that day serving. And it didn't matter how many people came, but this exchange of energy, Arturo, you said about if one person's shining, they emanate to everybody. I've never met those three gentlemen before, and I went and I could feel how energized I became just being with them. And they've been doing it longer than me, and they just made me part of the team. There was no like, where do you come from? What do you do? There was nothing. There was no airs or graces and titles. It's, we're here, just thank you for coming, and come on, let's do this. And Dilip Bhai just said to me, do you fancy coming on the street with me? Because some of the people can't actually come to the stalls of Go Dharmic, because I think one of the things that really touched me was when he said they won't come because they have their belongings there, and if they leave them, they can't get their space again. And that's so humbling, empowering, powerful, because that really makes you understand how much we take for granted, that someone is scared, or just, not even scared, just the simple thing of knowing that I have my home. We live in a house, but that's their house. That's their house, living on the street where they've parked their seat, their belongings. So isn't it our duty to actually go to them as well? And honestly, when I went on the street with Dilip Bhai, and you saw the humbleness and authenticity that each one of the people that I had the pleasure of meeting that day, what they were able to give back to me by just having a smile on their face and saying thank you, and being really grateful for the fact that you've gone there. We had one gentleman, he's lactose intolerant, and we had lots of things in the bag of what he could eat. I think one of the campaigns is not wasting food also. And this gentleman, he hasn't got much, and he said, I'm lactose intolerant, can I have anything in there? And we said, okay, well, let's have a look what you can have, what you can't have. We took everything out. What I found really humbling there was even though he needs the food because he hasn't got everything that he needs, he was still mindful of not wasting what he can't have. And how many times do we waste food or don't think like that? Because he said, look, somebody else can have that. Or, you take it with you, somebody else can have it, or maybe we can share it with one of the other people. And that I found really poignant, that someone who does not have anything much themselves was able to still think about what we are trying to get people to do constantly on the topic of climate change and waste and everything as well. Yeah. And like I said, it was a very small number of people. I went because I want to support with whatever my skill sets is, and I also have the same guru as Hanumans Dass does as well. And I've had this journey of being pulled to this cause of love all, serve all, feed all as well. But just by going into action, took me to a different place personally as well. So it was not anything even about me. It was like, here's your mirror again. You still have work to do. You still have service to give. That's really what the message was last weekend for me.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much, Ratna, for sharing that. Yeah, and
just on what you shared there, such a small distribution, just a few people who come together. And when I was there in Northampton, before going there, I was always thinking, hey, in London we feed 300, we've got food distribution in New York, we've got this in India. Why is 20, 30 people? It's a very small food distribution going on. And when I went there, and it was a sunny winter's day, and there was a homeless gentleman in his late 70s, and he's suffering from terminal cancer, and he's been homeless. He worked his whole life. He wasn't homeless like or addict or anything. He had a divorce, lost his job, and things spiraled out for him. And I said, do you have a place to stay? He said, look, they do give me a place to stay, but it's very violent in the area where all of these other people are being put up, and aggressive, and I don't like it. And he said, the thing that keeps me going is coming here once a week and having a cup of tea and talking to these wonderful people who light up my life. And it
Wow.
wasn't the food, it was just the presence, just being, sitting on the grass and just having a cup of tea with this person as a human to human, or divine to divine, just being together on the grass in that quiet little area. And that was a spot of heaven for me. So if we can create more spots of heaven like that, where there's no judgment, nobody wants anything, nobody charges anything or asks any questions, so we are just here together. We're
It's
all
so
just walking
beautiful.
each other home.
Yeah, and Hanuman, it shows also you don't need to have a lot of money. You don't need a big building. It's just sitting together with a cup of tea. And
yeah, but Arturo, I would add, it's sitting with a cup of tea outside. There is no building.
No.
When I went to Hampton, there is no building. It was in a car park where people could come, and just even doing it in nature. Actually, I think not having it in a building is even more powerful, because we're all then on equal footing, because Mother Nature does her business then, doesn't she? Of going, this is where you all are as well. And I think that's really powerful, because if we had it in a building or something, I always think concrete creates different energy, to be honest. Yeah.
I heard a story of Mother Teresa. She was in a radio interview, and the guy was constantly asking her, "How can we help you? How can we help you?" She said, "No, I don't need help. I'm just here because we are opening a new house for how do you say this? The weeskinder orphans, yes." And yes, but we have a lot of listeners, so maybe we can. She said, "Well, I just want to talk about this," and he went on, and at the end, she said, "Okay, you know how you can help me? Set your alarm clock at 4 a.m. Go outside to all the people who are living on street and think they're worthless, and show them that they're not." And that's so wonderful. It's such and well, maybe a simple thing, but for a lot of people, not easy to do. Just show them that they're not worthless, that they are really having value on this planet. Then help them. Be there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes.
Absolutely,
And I know
wonderful.
one of the people that I met last week also was, everyone has their perception about homeless people and why people are on the street or anything. But one of the people I met was a consequence of the last 2 years and COVID. And I think that's, we have masses already, and it's going to keep growing as well. And that's why I think, knowing that we can do something very small of just being in action and giving love to people, at least love gives hope. And that's exactly what the world needs as well. Because otherwise, they don't want to be in that position. They've not purposely gone into that position as well. But every seed of love that we can give, it gives hope to people that, like Hanumans Dass said, at least I can go and have a cup of tea and I can go and have a nice chat with somebody. It's homeless people, it's people in, people's homes as well. That's another topic in itself, to be honest. Yeah. But I was really surprised about the consequences of some of the things that have happened because of COVID as well, and that's in the UK. It's not just in India as well. So the need is growing, and that's why we need to grow and get more, inspire and influence more people into action, which is exactly what Hanumans Dass is growing, I think.
So tell us a bit more about that, because we know you have a big thing coming on in March. What can we do to help?
Well, hope we can sign you both up as champions to
Yes, please.
help.
Absolutely.
But I think, we are just so fortunate to know each other. I feel, blessed that we're connected. And if we can start in Holland to distribute even, so some fruit to some people, they could be in a vulnerable area, it could be some people, and start distributing some food just for 1 hour a week. I think that would be the greatest thing we could do together. And And look, I just think everything else takes care of itself. You know, as long as we just go out, love all, feed all, serve all, the rest all falls into place because we are happy. You know, we get the opportunity to get away from ourselves for a little while. You know, from the self motivated. And the whole Gita is around this concept of Nishkam Karma Yoga, which means selfless yoga. The way to find happiness is in serving others. This is Mahatma Gandhi said this thing, and I really believe it with all my heart. I think it's the more we serve, the more we can do. So this March fundraiser is really, you know, Go Dharmic wishes to expand in many other places to do similar service, where we can show people how easy it is to go out with this tent which says love all, feed all, serve all, and just distribute food, because many people feel that it's not possible, or, you know, how can they do it, and, you know, they need some guidance, you know, just to get the thing going. And then you know, it's kind of like when you're learning to drive, you find that tricky, and oh my god, where's the gears, and they put the foot here and look there and do this, but then afterwards it becomes your second nature. And I think if people in voluntary work and service work just get a little bit of guidance to start, and once they start, then, you know, they feel very comfortable and can expand that. And then when the crisis happens, they've already been training every week with food distribution. So when the flood happens near them, or if somebody's in need, they're ready to go. They've developed the heart muscle to go and do the service, like meditation.
And that is just something that why we are talking today as well, as Ratna and I have been talking about, you know, looking at ways of how to start this in the Netherlands as well. So watch this story. But we also want to know more about, for example, your libraries and things like that in India for the young girls, and how you really, I know you're a father of two beautiful children. Are they both girls as well? I thought they were, huh?
One boy, one
boy.
girl. One
Okay.
is 𝐼𝐁 and 𝐿𝐁. And basically, yeah, I feel that the many very poor government schools are almost like prison cells. They don't have any chairs. They don't have any carpet. They don't. It looks very cold, very kind of unwelcoming to children. And I feel that if we can improve those places and make them lovely and involve the children and help build them confidence, and they have a desire to read and desire to play sport and enjoy, you know, their time at school, then they're going to be significantly better off. So we've developed 100 such government schools across India in that way. But every area is different. So the service we may do in Netherlands or London will be different to the requirements in India, or, you know, when there's a pandemic. But each local group should develop the beloved community, and then when called to act, will naturally act. You know, we trust that, so there's no need to over prescribe anything. Just love all, feed all, serve all, come together, all different people, Hindu, Muslim, Jew, Buddhist, Christian, doesn't matter, all one. Sanatana Dharma is affecting us all. It's all the Dharma of humanity is to be humane. And if we cultivate that core, then everything will come together. So I would love to, you know, establish GD together with you all in Holland, and whoever can help us by becoming a champion in March would really help our cause. We're trying to get as many people together to give their time, give their talent, as well as help collect treasure to give to others, give it away. We don't need so much. So maybe if we can spare a little bit and share the messages, actually with charities, not just Go Dharmic, every charity in last 2 years, all of their fundraising is hugely disrupted due to no events happening in person, where they may be conducting trips or marathons, runs, dinners, fundraising. So for non-profit sector has been hugely impacted from a fundraising perspective during COVID, but the work has been increased. So if it's buying, you know, medical equipment for oxygen crisis in India, or, supporting Afghan refugees, helping them to develop new skills who have left, those who are fortunate to leave Afghanistan, or serving people in Afghanistan on the ground in humanitarian crisis. This all will require funds. World Food Program is saying that they're almost out of funds. In Afghanistan, they will be completely out of food aid by March, which would spark one of the biggest humanitarian crises of our time. So this is all happening, while we are here. We have to be present. In the midst of such suffering, we have to smile. We have to be love. We have to not come from a place of fear. But at the same time, do something. Go Dharmic. That is the call to do something.
I love that.
Can I just add, Hanuman, as well, that Hanuman said about you guys coming up as champions. I think, Hanuman, we're over the 150 mark champions globally. So this is not something that's just champions from the UK as well. I think we're over the 150 mark, aren't we now?
I think today we've crossed 170.
That's
so
better.
Anybody who wishes to sign up, anybody who might be listening, would be wonderful. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry,
and that's
ahead,
the call. Yeah, no, that's exactly the call for anyone who's listening right now, or when the recording goes up as well, Arturo and Claudia, people can sign up. And as Hanuman said, it doesn't need to be, no one has to do an event. It's basically doing it from your armchair as well. You can do it as a team as well. And when I put a post out as well about it, it was more, the whole idea is so that we can raise money, and whatever money we can raise, we have a target of 1 million, which is going to be match funded as well. And we already have significant match funding. And we've got to have some confirmation still, I believe, Hanuman, as well, right? But, for me also, the message I would like to give is it's about raising money. That obviously that's what we want to do. Like Hanuman said, we need it, but it's about raising the awareness. And even that is just spreading seeds of love, of awareness to people that this is what this charity can do. And maybe if they can't give now, maybe they can give. Giving is not just about money, it's about giving time, or, and when it suits them to say, hey, I want to go and find out a little bit more. So I think, Hanuman, it's also for me about the more people we can reach, even if it's, the money is absolutely grateful, whatever people can give, but go and check the website out, see the amazing work that everybody's doing as well. And most importantly, the champions are not just in the UK, they are global as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And what I would add to that is, if we think about how we're bombarded today with media for fast food, or for buying technology, or buying all these things, when we think about how we can actually share the message of love with so many people, how do we celebrate and circulate that message? This is an effort where if we have, say, 500 people, 500 champions, and those 500 champions all have 200 people, we're reaching so many people together during that period. So this is the wonderful part that we could do together. So I do appeal to everybody to join us on March the 6th, and we can have a wonderful time together to see if we can circulate the message of love globally.
Beautiful. And if I want to read more about this, where do I need to go?
You can go to godharmic.com, which is GODHARMIC.com.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And we shall put a link under the recording as well, which we'll place on all our social media, of course. Wow. Well, I just feel this might be a good moment to end this conversation. I'm sure we could talk for hours, but maybe we should meet somewhere on a cup of tea on a nice bit of grass.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
Sometime.
Definitely.
Definitely.
But thank you so much, both of you, to come here today and share your stories and how to inspire and to raise the level of consciousness, and also to awaken the heart more and more. I think that is the biggest message I think I'll always take away from speaking with you both. So thank you for that.
Well,
thank you both so much.
Well, for facilitating.
Thank you. Nice to see you all.
And have a wonderful evening, and take good care of yourselves too. All right.
Yes, and also for the both of you, do at least 2 things that makes you happy today. Okay.
This is the first one. This has been the first one.
Okay, dear, please you, Hanuman.
Bye for now.
All
right. Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Lots of love. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you so much for watching.
And well, we hope you really got inspiration and inspired about this. Go out, help people, being of service, and well, hope to see you next time. Have a
Yeah.
wonderful weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you and see you next week. Bye-bye.